Well, good evening. Welcome back to Northern Vein Productions. We're back on the 1969 7 horsepower Briggs and Stratton. I mentioned the other night that I was going to measure the valve clearance on this and make sure that and see what it was and see if it needed to be addressed or fixed or whatever. In a bit of irony, the valve clearance is perfect. God only knows how many hours are on this little engine. I have no clue. It's probably got a lot on it. So on the exhaust valve, the clearance is 11 thousandths maximum clearance, 9 thousandths minimum clearance. That thing's setting right on 11 thousandths perfect on the exhaust, and on the intake 5 to 7 thousandths on the intake, and again the intake is right at the maximum 7 thousandths clearance, which is actually perfect on one of these engines because, as all of you know, the valve seats in these have a tendency to wear and the valves tighten up as they age. So that's telling me that probably the valve seats and the valves are not worn hardly at all in this thing. Now, here's what I've kind of observed tonight when I was looking at this thing. This engine is extremely dirty inside. Everything, I wiped it out some, but it's a lot of that black sludge that you see usually in the crankcase of these engines. It's all through here. The whole thing in around here was all blackened with that black slimy sludge. So that means that probably this thing has run most of its lifetime and never had the oil changed. So what I did discover is right down, let's see if I can get the light in here at this. I've got a little flashlight here. Let's see what. So right in here, there's a return hole. I don't know if we're picking it up with this camera or not. Let me see if I can zoom it out just a little bit. Now it's going to put it out of focus. There's a little return hole right there anyways. And I took this cotter pin right here and straightened it out, and when I initially pushed it down through there, it wouldn't go, and when I pulled it back out of there, there was a bunch of that slimy crud on there. So that tells me that return hole was plugged. So most likely the rocker box, this lifter box, was probably filling right up full of oil. And if you look right in there, let me see if I can get a light down here. Look at the enormous hole that goes right straight into the crankshaft. There's no baffle in that. You can look right in there and see the counterweight of the crankshaft going by. So that thing is probably slinging massive amounts of oil into this lifter box. This is something that they revised, apparently. I'm guessing that this is something that they had issues with. And I'm going to show you another engine here. This is a engine off of my 1981 Snapper. This bench is kind of a disaster, and I haven't really took the time to clean this off. Now, so on that engine over there, this was drilled straight through, so you could see this is just drilled into. These actually go straight down. There's another hole that's drilled up from underneath. I don't know if we can get the light straightened around here so I can see this or not. Yes, you can. You can see right there that those holes drop straight down in behind, and let me show you down in here. See, this has kind of got a baffle this whole thing acts as a baffle in here, so we're not getting the oil slung up in there as much as you were on that older engine. Again, this is a 1981. This is actually the original engine block off from my 30083 Snapper. I am going to fix this engine. This engine needs a set of rings and gasket set. I just measured the ring gap on that. That thing's got a 50 thousandths gap on the rings, so the rings are completely worn out in this too. And this engine right here basically looks just like that. That's probably what that 1969 engine looks like inside too. It's all full of sludge. I highly doubt that this engine ever had the oil changed very often in it either. I used to do some work on this engine back in the day, but I don't remember if he was good about having the oil changed in that or not. I do remember talking to the gentleman that owned this about automobiles, and he was not a big, he was one of these guys that would try to run a vehicle 10,000 miles on oil change. So I have a feeling he probably tried to do the same thing with this old aluminum bore Briggs and Stratton, and here we are 30 years later. This engine did run, it did run pretty good, but it smoked like a freight train. So yeah, so this needs a set of rings put in this one. The rest of this engine's in great shape. The connecting rod journal is in excellent condition. The crank's in excellent condition. It just needs a set of rings in it. The thing got run with dirty oil in it. So anyways, back to this. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take this, the crankcase breather off of that come off of this engine was a little bit questionable. You know, I have this other one here. This come off of the engine that came off from this machine that I took off here earlier this summer. Well, I wasn't having any problems with that thing blowing oil out of the carburetor or anything, so I'm going to put this back on here. And in fact, that engine's right here. That's the one that the engine block was destroyed in. Piston, the thing got really hot at some point in time. I mean, look how bad that piston scored on that thing. Holy crap. But I took the rings out of that just for the heck of it and stuck them into the bore on this engine, because this engine has the same 3-inch bore as an 8-horse engine, and these rings off of this piston only have about a 31 thousandths gap on them. The problem, the old engine that was on this machine originally didn't smoke very much when you were under power. It smoked like hell when it was idling. And that was because the cylinder bore was completely destroyed in that thing. Had big craters dug right into the cylinder bore. She'd gotten really hot and galled out some of the aluminum. But anyways, so I gotta see if I can round up a valve cover gasket or make a valve cover gasket for this thing, and I'm not going to even bother taking the valves out of it. There's no sense in it. The compression was good on this thing. The valves are not leaking at all, so there's no point in taking the valves out of it. In fact, this thing has actually got I noticed this thing's actually got a valve rotator on the exhaust valve, which I didn't realize they were using them on 1969 7-horsepower engines, but apparently they were. I don't even think the 8-horsepower engine had that on it. I'm not sure here. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, I guess it did. That does appear to have a, yeah, that one had a valve rotator on it too. Yep. So anyways, I'll get a valve cover gasket for this thing and try to get it back together, and I'm gonna give it a test run just for the heck of it, just to see what it does. I still got plenty of summer left here. It's only the first week of August, so that ought to give me an idea what it's gonna do. But I suspect that probably what's gonna happen to this, I'm gonna have to take that engine off there and put a set of rings in it. I looked around, and this engine does take the same rings as an 8 horsepower engine, and they're readily available. There's aftermarket kits available for them. The difference between this engine and the 8 horsepower engine is the crankshaft and the connecting rod and the piston are different. It's got a different stroke than the 8 horse engine. So they compensated somehow by the piston pin, I believe, in the piston. But, well, I guess that's it. It's hotter than the blazes of hell in this shop right now. It was 92 degrees here today, so I guess I'm going in the house and get into the air conditioner. You all have a good one. Bye-bye.